Now, speaking of continuing conversations, it's time to sincerely congratulate IITA colleagues and say hello to CIP colleagues. If you're just joining us, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. You're very welcome to this Marathon Spotlight event, which is taking us on a 13-hour journey around the world. Today, we join many people who are celebrating the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. And we're taking the opportunity to celebrate our own fantastic community of women scientists who are leading the way in a wide range of research and scientific innovation. As we've seen throughout the day, they're breaking barriers, finding new ways to advance the transformation of food, land, and water systems in a climate crisis. For those of you I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, hello, my name is Fiona Farrell and I lead CGIR's function that works to advance gender equity, diversity and inclusion in our global workplaces, or GDI for short. We in the GDI function, we just celebrated our first birthday recently. We were launched in January 2020 and we have a really clear mission. Our mission is to work with leadership and management and staff across CGIR to ensure that our workplaces are really truly enabling and inclusive for over 10,000 people. Our goal is to ensure that diversity in all its dimensions is embraced and that everybody who's in our workplace is really supported to reach their full potential. For us in our work, it's not only the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. We know that diversity can bring the different perspectives and the innovation we need to advance on our critical mission. The work of the GDI function, as you may know, is guided by our GDI framework and action plan. If you'd like to learn more about these important documents, or you'd like to take the training, visit the Knowledge Hub, learn more about our matrix and all of the work that we do, you can see the details on the screen now and you can check out the webpage after the session. Among the many initiatives we've had the honor to support in 2020, one of them was the launch of this new employee-led resource group called WIRES, Women in Research and Science. WIRES aims to bring together all those in our global community who want to support our incredible women scientists and to provide them with a supportive, safe place to meet and to learn and to grow. Today, we recognize their significant contributions by showcasing just a sample of the exciting and innovative work being undertaken by our women scientists. As we continue our 13-hour journey, we remind you of a few housekeeping rules. As you can see on the screen, we remind you that interpretation is available at the bottom of your screen. We remind you to submit your questions and your comments via the Q&A box. And please do feel free to reach out to Thomas if you do have any technical difficulties. We invite you to join WIRES using the contact details on the right-hand side of this slide. It's now my great pleasure to welcome the speakers for our 10th, can't believe I'm saying that, 10th Power Hour, which is being hosted by CIP. Handing over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, colleagues around the world. It's an honor to participate in this celebration of the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. On behalf of our Director General, Barbara Wells, I would like to mention that we are honored to have two speakers today, two women scientists, one experienced, accomplished scientist, and a younger scientist starting her career in science. So it's important to continue what was mentioned before, providing as much support as possible for girls and women to get engaged in science careers. I can say myself, I have two daughters. One of them already is studying bioengineering. So I have already contributed partially to that goal. And at CIP, we have we take this very seriously. Actually, CIP, the last two director generals have been women scientists, and that is showing the way to the future. So I would like to introduce first to my colleague, Maria Andrade. Maria Andrade is an accomplished scientist. She is a leader of sweet potato breeding in Africa and provides all the programmatic oversight to research and development in that area of work. She joined CIP in 2006 and started to work in the Sweet Potato Action for Security and Health SASHA project in Southern Africa, supporting breeders in Malawi, Zambia, South Africa, Madagascar, Mozambique, and Angola, with particular emphasis on developing drought-tolerant sweet potato varieties. She has been extremely successful in supporting that effort with more than 30 biofortified varieties released. She has already received numerous international awards. Of course, the most important one could be the 2016 World Food Prize because of her work on sweet potato, orange flesh sweet potato. In 2017, she received the Swaminathan Award for Environmental Protection as well. And her work has also been recognized by the Mozambican government. She works from Mozambique in the sense of contribution of biofortified sweet potato for food and nutrition security. Maria works very closely with other CGIAR scientists in the region, trying to promote synergies and platforms in the area of plant breeding, particularly breeding of root tubers and banana crops. Today, Maria is a principal scientist at the International Potato Center and country manager in Mozambique. And she is in the board as well of directors of Micronutrient Forum, members of external panel review of next generation cassava breeding project as well, and in the Champions for Food Forever Initiative, Global Crop Diversity Trust. She comes from, she receives actually her bachelor degree and Master of Science from Arizona University in the US and PhD from North Carolina State University in plant breeding. So Maria today will be sharing with us a journey beyond womanhood, a science point. So Maria, please go ahead.
Yeah, greetings to everyone. Thank you, Oscar, for this very nice introduction. Like you say, my name is Maria, and I've been working also for the CGR for 25 years, and I'm speaking to you all from Mozambique. Let me load my presentation very, very fast, and I can just go over it to share with you my journey. So the way I'm going to present to you is going to be, I'm going to give you some, take you along on my womanhood as an international scientist. I'm going to cover condition principles that led me to success. I'm going to let you know how I love my job and the challenges I face in my illustrious career and how to manage fame and success. And with this is how to really let the young scientists to follow some of these norms. So,
Maria, any chance to put in presentation mode to see your presentation full screen?
I did. So, to really let you know, my journey started long time ago in the nation island of Cape Verde, where I did my primary school and my secondary school. And after this, I received a scholarship from the African American Institute to do my master in agronomy in the US. my undergrad degree and my master in the US. In 1989, I enrolled at North Carolina State University to pursue my PhD in plant breeding and physiology. And this was a scholarship from the USAID. With this, I specialized, for example, in technology transfer. It was my great interest, breeding, seed system, and value chain. This is marking the start for 35 years career in agriculture, which I can tell you was mostly spent in Mozambique, like Oscar, my director, mentioned. I started in IITA in 96 as a regional agronomist for Southern Africa Root Crop Research Network, which is a network of IITA and CIP, which lasted until 2005. In 2006, I joined CIP, and later in 2009, I managed the Sweet Potato Action for Security and Health in Africa as a breeder as a sweet potato breeder for Southern Africa, focusing on breeding drought-tolerant sweet potato. So by then, to be a breeder of sweet potato, it was a very difficult task because it was a poor man's crop, and nobody wants to invest in sweet potato. And I realized from the very beginning, to become a very successful breeder of sweet potato, I had to become first an advocate for sweet potato, demonstrating to its practical potential to not only address food insecurity, but also paying attention a lot on the sweet potato that are orange tag, which was largely unknown in sub-Saharan Africa, that could also effectively tackle vitamin A deficiency. So with this, I understood I'm an agriculturist, and I want to promote a crop which is to tackle nutrition and also work on the value chain. So I realized from the very beginning that the collaboration with nutritionists and agricultural economists to develop innovative mechanisms to ensure that improved orange flesh sweet potato could make a difference to the health of the human and wealth. And this, for example, this activity has resulted in growing awareness and recognition of the first concept of biofortification, which is breeding for enhanced micronutrients in sweet potato and other staple crops.
Maria, the slides are not moving. I don't know, just in case.
Yeah, it's open. I mentored hundreds of staff members and students, helping to build a community of preps that recognize that for scientists to make a difference in sub-Saharan Africa, they must stretch their mandate beyond and engage in delivery and often advocacy. In 2020, I joined Sweet Games, which is a breeding program sponsored by, it's not open.
The slides are not moving, Maria, when they are not passing. We are seeing only the first slide.
Well, but gosh. You do, because I'm in the third slide. In my screen. Okay. Can you see?
No, it appears only the first slide, Maria. Perhaps you can share it again.
Yeah, in my screen, I'm seeing it, but I don't know why it's not sharing from there. So anybody from there can help me with the slide? Can you see the third slide? No, but I see it in my screen.
Maria, this is Fiona here. If you would like to quickly send us the slide, we can upload it for you and we can drive it on your instructions.
Okay.
Or you can send it.
I could also share. I have the presentation. I could share it from my end if you want, Maria.
I sent the last one draft to Lilia. If you have it, you could share it. That will be fine. But I don't know why he's not sharing.
So please stop sharing, and I will try to share mine.
Okay. Thank you. Remove it. Thank you. Go to the third slide.
I'm not sure whether you can see the slide.
I see, but this is the first one. Goes to the third one, please. So, like I said, the condition and principle that led me to success. I realized that as a woman scientist from the very beginning, I should shortcuts or favor is not what I'm looking for. Integrity was also very important. He worked very hard, maybe twice as much as normal person, would be very important to lead to success. Perseverance was also very important. Being honest to self and to other colleagues and partners. Also dream of changing lives, because when I was a little, because I'm coming from a small place where hunger and starvation was what exists when I was a little. I always had a dream of solving hunger, food insecurity, and all that. So I said, when I grow up, whatever I do is towards improving food security and malnutrition for Africa and for my country in general. I realized, for example, also without participation, I need fund. It's very critical to participate in competitive project bidding process, seeking opportunity. Of course, if you are to look for funding and talk with the farmers and also with other collaborators, effective communication is quite critical. Of course, you cannot work alone. You need to build your team and to really speak the same language. Therefore, the desire to learn from the very beginning. Also, I was not afraid to fail and to stand up. As I can share with you, life has knocked me down a few times, but one thing for sure, I always get up. I am a woman who's been through the storm and survived. I am a warrior by personality, Instead of looking at the past, I always look ahead and try to look at what I can do and start from the very fresh. Thank you. Next slide, please. Why do I love the job I do? I love the collaborative environment. For example, over the years, my research program in Mozambique has raised awareness in the international community. I met several important people, like, for example, Gordon Coney from the University of Success and principal consultant for DFID. I could mention you too, lead singer Bono, Deputy Secretary of the State from NIDE, VIP from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, AGRA, members of the parliament of numerous countries, and other dignitaries visit my program and compliment its result. So the diversity of the work that I do to ensure that nowadays it is like any other, and I'm always focusing on bettering the community, which makes you feel good when it's the end of the day. Again, I said I love the crop I do. I could have not chosen a better crop than sweet potato to work with, because it's recognized as one of the most important crops for disaster relievers and recover. It's a food and nutrition security crop, and above all, is a woman crop. Next, please. So the challenge I faced in my illustrious career is about moving outside my comfort zone. I can mention to you that transit from Cape Verde, US and Mozambique was challenging because I need to face new culture, new religious belief, food, ethics, and new friends. The years of this program were nothing less than a life experience. It's very difficult to explain to you in a short, with the time I have, the experience I have, but I will try to share a few of the essential insights. Living far away from home as a single mother, being a woman in a society where you feel so vulnerable, far away from your family, in a job that requires constant travel to the field and abroad while children are still small. Even though you have this advanced degree, you have the strength to work and have a global experience, it can still be enormously challenging to live outside your country of origin and feeling that you are a foreigner and can't demand much. You need to work. Next, please. So other challenge is technology front. Technology is changing for the better. Some are relevant, others not. I realized from the very beginning, because as I visit several donors for fund, they tell me, when are you releasing a variety? It takes 8 years. Most of them will tell me, I cannot wait for you for 8 years to develop a product. Together with other colleagues at the International Potato Center, Wolfgang Grunberg and other breed, an accelerating breeding scheme was developed, which is a breakthrough in conventional breeding, where a variety is produced in 4 to 5 years instead of 8 to 10. And 14 countries in Africa adopt this technology, about 162 varieties released in 16 countries, and this variety has reached to close to 6 million, more than 6 million beneficiaries. This is a breakthrough because all these national programs engaged in this accelerated breeding scheme. Everybody was producing variety, which was a limiting thing to be able to produce the orange flesh sweet potato in the region. Next, please, Oscar. So again, another challenge is the breeding alignment. In 2020, I said I joined Sweet Games, which is all about modernization in collaboration with the Excellence in Breeding platform and RTB Foods. This is all about optimizing breeding operation. We're looking into Hollover's hybrid sweet potato variety. We want to develop no-orange flesh sweet potato variety with iron and zinc. And also, we also want to improve the orange flesh sweet potato variety biofortified with iron. Again, all our data that we collect need to be run into linear mixed model in order to be more efficient. The concept also the concept of product profile is very important because that is where we look into the breeding for market. We look for basic traits, value-added traits, future value traits, and also game-changing traits. Next, please. Again, balance between work and social responsibility. As you know, for it to be called a home is because of a woman. In Proverbs 14:1, the wisest of women builds her house. In Act 16, Lydia, a wise woman, built her house by working diligently with her own hands. She was successful at business. Another challenge is working with sweet potato as an orphan crop. By then, like I said, there was very, very few funding and research opportunity. Most of the research opportunity was dominated by males. Men partners don't have resource to channel towards sweet potato. We need to invent, embrace the change, learn, adapt fast, and make a difference. Please, next. So, how to manage fame and success? For me, what manage very well is also to remain humble. Continue working very hard. As you know, I'm holding, like Oscar mentioned, 2 demanding positions, working for work package 2. I lead the sweet potato on the sweet potato games, covering on the sweet games project. I'm a country manager of Mozambique with many portfolios and also serving in several boards. You need to become stronger, independent, and please avoid distraction. Determination, passion, and resilience are the right word for success. Concentrate on what you can do and remember that you cannot do everything. Ideas must be innovative and gender sensitive. Continue respecting people and colleagues. Continue looking for new research opportunity. Mentoring is quite important, like my other colleagues mentioned in the other section. For example, I can give an example. I mentor somebody that came to my office when she was in grade 8. She finished her university degree and now she's being mentioned on the profession. So supervision of student at all level is a thing. Next, please, and I'm finished. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. Thank you. This has been really a poem describing your career and the substantial effort, additional effort you have to go through all your life to realize your career as a scientist, but also as a mother, as head of a family. So congratulations indeed. I'm going to pass it now to the next speaker so that at the end we could have a few minutes for some of the questions that may be in the section of questions and answers. So I would like now to introduce our second speaker, Alejandra Arce. Alejandra is an ecologist and agroecologist with a PhD, and she actually grew up in Peru, Belgium, and United States. So that's an important combination of experiences. She studied at the University of Illinois, Urban Campaign, and University of California, Berkeley, and the University of Antioquia, Medellin in Colombia. She has more than 10 years of cross-cultural multidisciplinary experience in different contexts, and particularly smallholder agriculture in Latin America and the Caribbean, from Cuba to the Andes. And she has particularly paid attention to the Peruvian Central Andes while undertaking her PhD research, and got fascinated with the agrobiodiversity expressions on the field, on the local food, etc. So now in 2019, Alejandra joined CIP in a new Andean Initiative as Associated Scientist in Agrobiodiversity, where she is moving her career science in the very important area of agrobiodiversity conservation and utilization for the benefit of small-scale farmers. And I would like to invite now Alejandra to share with us an interesting presentation about making the case for climate resilient and low carbon smallholder landscapes through agroecology in Latin America. So Alejandra, welcome.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Let's first make sure that the technical details are okay. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. Okay. And let's go to slideshow. Okay, would you please confirm that you are seeing my presentation?
We are seeing the slides, but not yet in the presentation full screen.
Okay. How about now?
Okay. Now it's okay.
Okay. So you are just seeing the presentation at this point, correct?
We are seeing the slides, but not in full screen yet.
Okay. Should be in full screen because that's what I'm seeing right now. Do you see it now?
No, unfortunately not. It's not moving.
Okay. Well, I am at the first slide. Okay, let me just stop sharing. again. Let's try this again. Apologies for the inconvenience, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Okay. Should be right here. Okay, can you please tell me if you're seeing my slideshow?
No, Alejandra, we are only seeing the first slide not moving.
Okay, do you see the second slide, but in full view?
No, it's not moving.
Okay, I may have to stop my camera because if this is a connection issue, perhaps that will help. I will stop my video and please let me know now if you can see my screen. It says that my screen sharing is paused. Why is that?
Do you want me maybe to share your slides? I could give it a try.
It's strange because it says you are screen sharing and I am trying to do that from the beginning, full slide. Can you see it now?
Yeah, that looks good. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. All right, so let me start again. I'm still going to stop camera. Maybe I'll activate it once I'm done with the presentation, just in case. Is that okay?
Yes, please go ahead and see.
Okay, thank you. Well, hi everyone, and it's a pleasure and a privilege to follow a female scientist like Maria Andrade. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present a snapshot of an exciting project that I am fortunate to be co-leading as coordinator. The project is focused on strengthening the evidence base for climate resilience and low carbon smallholder landscapes through agri-ecological practices in Latin America. It took off in late November of 2020 and has a first 12-month pilot duration. But first, I would like to highlight some key domains that are woven into the project's contribution to science and innovation for climate resilience and sustainable food systems, women's agency, and the new horizons that are opening with digital technologies. Let's now get to the content of the presentation, beginning with some background to contextualize the project institutionally and thematically, then proceeding into its objective and components, its team, expected outcomes, and future steps. So if you have not yet heard of Andean Initiative, you're missing out. Andean Initiative is CIP's recently launched innovation platform and its proactive contribution to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in Western South America and global mountain regions. Empowerment of women and youth and bridging the digital divide in a context of out-migration are just some of its key areas of co-innovation with a rich ecosystem of stakeholders. Led by the CIP's program, the project is funded by the French government and brings together the French research institutions IRD and CIRAD, Alliance Biodiversity CIAT, and CIP's Andean Initiative to collaborate through an interdisciplinary citizen science approach that makes crucial connections between agrobiodiversity conservation, healthy foods, low carbon footprints, and digital cooperative economies, connecting consumers with farmers. Now let's get into a bit of agri-ecology. Since 2018, the CGIAR, the French agricultural research centers, and key international stakeholder platforms like the Committee on World Food Security, FAO, IFAD, BioVision, and the International Panel of Experts on Sustainable Food Systems have convened around the role of agri-ecology for sustainable and resilient landscapes, livelihoods, and food systems, while also identifying knowledge gaps and the need to articulate metrics to evidence its contribution and potential. A most recent development in that direction is the conception of the transformative partnership platform, convening the aforementioned stakeholders and designing a methodology to assess the socioeconomic viability of agroecological practices in the African context. Since the 1980s, agroecology has been promoted in Latin America as the science of sustainable agriculture, and many networks, NGOs, and movements have emerged in support of agroecological transitions. Whether there is sufficient scientific evidence remains a contested issue to some, and information is especially dispersed or missing when it comes to climate resilience and greenhouse gas emissions, excuse me. Therefore, to systematize the body of knowledge and add value to the Latin American region, the project will articulate with existing agroecological communities of practice, farmer networks, and NGOs in Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru to collectively assess agroecology's contribution to climate resilience and mitigation, and use that information to strengthen smallholder production systems and reach markets through digital cooperative economy tools. The project has 5 components consisting of various research tools to gather and systematize the evidence of agroecological practices, reducing low carbon footprints and increasing resilience by closely working with local partners in digital technologies. The first component of the project is a state-of-the-art analysis through a rigorous systematic review of what is out there in terms of scientific methods and evidence, and the application of the same socioeconomic viability methodology begun in Africa. The second component addresses mitigation potential with Cool Farm tool. The third component of the project applies the PITSA methodology for agroclimatic information management. The fourth component innovates a traceability and participatory certification system with farmers. The fifth component of the project undertakes a systematic review and stakeholder consultation in terms of policy and enabling environments for agroecological scaling, and contributes with a seed security assessment under climatic shocks. Now to get to know our team. Our team is composed of 12 people, 8 of which are women, and brings a diversity of fields of expertise and on-the-ground experiences to the project. Expected outcomes of the project are first and foremost the new and articulated intelligence in Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru as first pilot sites, followed by a digital cooperative system that enables smallholder farmers and consumers to track footprints from farm to fork. New skills for young people. This is supported by the attractive and accessible technologies that we'll be working with, communication products that articulate with communities of practice, as well as to decision makers in the region, and the identification of key innovation and advocacy areas for future joint projects that support agroecological transitions in Latin America. As future steps following the first year of the project, a strategic regional collaboration with the 2-Degree Initiative is in sight. This will build on the social capital and knowledge base of both initiatives, 2DI and Andean, to enhance access to climate smart and agroecological innovations, support knowledge management and articulation of climate informed services, and policy and institutional reform in the Latin American region. And that is my brief snapshot of this exciting project. Thank you so much for your time and for listening. And these are just some pictures of some of the remarkable women that I have come across in my experience thus far undertaking science with CIP. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. And thank you, Maria, as well. Now, I would like to remind the participants that we have a question and answer section where you could express your questions and I can pass them to Maria and Alejandra. And while you write your questions, I would like to invite Maria and Alejandra to share with us some lessons or advice how science can be promoted for young girls. What type of tools you would suggest parents or people in education to really get young girls interested in science from the school time? Can you suggest some ideas there? Maria, could you go first, and then Alessandra, please?
Thank you very much, Oscar, for the question. I think to really promote young girls in science, we should work with them from primary, secondary school. And we need to teach, to train them in a way that if they are to involve in science, it's quite important because there are so many people out there that need support. And we explain to them that it's through science and technology that we're going to be able to feed the growing population, which every day is growing and needs some food. So the teaching is to set up science laboratory at primary school and really develop the skill to these young children at school. And I'm telling you this because I've been across going as a model to primary school, like the American school, International School of Maputo, and talking to those students what is science is all about. You could see how exciting they are and even bring them to the field. I remember I took like 14 students from the Portuguese School of Maputo to come to the field to see how I was breeding cassava. It was quite interesting to watch because some of those students thought cassava was hanging on the cassava plants. And from that trip that I took, I understood that 4 of them went to Portugal and became an agronomist later on. So teaching at that level is the most important thing, but you need to teach it in a way at their own level. If you are talking about DNA, it has to be different of what to go into all those cycles in DNA, but it has to be in an interesting way. I was teaching also in a primary school in Cape Verde Island, and I was teaching them how the world was one, and then with all those things, the world become divided, and you have to see how exciting these children can be to understand that these are all phenomena. They are all things that you can visualize to them, and later on, they follow you. So teaching science and technology, science should be at the primary and secondary level, and to tell them exactly how important this can be to them. Thank you, Oscar. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you very much. Alejandra, could you share your ideas with us, please?
Thank you, Oscar. That is it's a challenging question. And the first thing that came to mind was, in Agri-Ecology, we talk a lot about enabling environments for agroecological practices for this so-called transition. Well, I see the same kind of enabling environment, prompting young people to ask, to be curious, and to see science and technology as beautiful. The Peruvian context has many challenges in that regard. I think that the culture and the educational system prompting young people to address these kinds of scientific questions. And as Maria pointed, beginning early is key in that regard. Also, I think that the digital technologies are opening horizons, as I mentioned in my introduction. And this is the kind of information that I've received even by interacting with our local partners thus far in this project in Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. They are very eager for their young people to be immersed in this citizen science project, because they also see the rural exodus and how young people in rural areas, which are actually very dynamic now, they interact with urban centers. But many young people have lost interest in specifically research in agriculture, much less practicing agriculture. That is an incredible challenge that we're facing. And I see that engaging young folks with exposing them to this kind of village scientific community, if you will, may help us work also with primary schools, not only in urban areas, but in rural areas. Fortunately at CIP, at least during my previous experience working with Steph DeHaan in the agrobiodiversity of the potato, we have some precedents with the educational system. And I think that those are very, very promising, but it really takes many stakeholders to create this enabling environment, especially in the underserved rural areas of Peru, and the same applies to other Andean countries.
Thank you, Alejandra. Thank you very much. I'm still checking questions, and I'd like to ask a question now. You have provided advice on both of you on the how to incentivize science in young girls. I would like to now get your advice on to young scientists, female scientists who are ending university, starting the master or the PhD, or starting to work on a scientific career. What advice could you, Maria and Alejandra, provide based on your experience so that they can continue in that career path? Maria, could you go first, please?
Thank you very much, Oscar, for a good question. Usually, for example, at the university level, if the experience that I have on Mozambique, when you go there in science, most of the students are male students, but there are some percentage that are female students. Usually, for example, to really talk to them, the way to have an incentive on them is to explain. I always explain to them, because a lot of these young students, they want to do administration, they want to do finance, but I tell them, look, if you join the scientific community to do science, biology, agronomy, breeding, I guarantee you, as a female young scientist, you will get a job, because there are very few of them out there that are willing to go into this field. I remember that like 9 years ago, I visited the university, and right now, for example, I'm dealing with a student, female student that is mine, who did agronomy in sweet potato. She did very well, but I always explain to her, look, if you are to become very good at what you do, you need to not be distracted. Set your goals very clear and go for it. Do not allow anybody to distract you if this is your dream, and you will be able. But above all, you need to work very hard. You need to have this determination. This is what you do, because as a female in science, in technology, if you work very hard, there will be always somebody out there that could identify you and eventually pick you, and you'll be employed, and you contribute for your society, you contribute for your country, and at the regional level, at the international level, if you are serious and you do. Often I tell them, if you are a student and you want to really, I'll tell them always my story, because my story is that I married, I got 2 children, and I end up with these 2 children, and I want to improve my life. But life out there in Cape Verde, a small country with 500,000 people, there is no job opportunity. And being the way I am, I need to really go away with a lot of constraint, but I was very sure I could not do everything, but I can do my job and take care of my children because they are very important. So therefore, whatever plan you have and you want to constitute your family, if you are young, do it before you have a family, and work very hard and acquire all information that you have, and you will succeed. And I do this every time to really, because the girls is the age group at the university level that I love the most, because they are often very confused. They don't know what to do. But as soon as I get in touch with them, I tell them, if you did biology, I also convinced another student last year to go on to science, because she was doing also this administration, this finance. Okay, they are needed. But for me, I need to produce food. I need to feed the world. And you need to have this type of profession. And if they are women, because we are multitask. And if you are very, very career oriented, you can do millions of things. So, but every day, this is what I try to put in their mind with a small group of people that join the scientific group at the university. You keep on talking. You cannot be tired. You are an evangelist for science, and you keep on going until you get somebody to play in your team. This is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. Great advice. Alejandra, could you please give us your advice?
Yes, Oscar. It's a question that is digging into my definitely experiential and intuitive side. It also reminds me of how I felt in my earlier years and what I am observing now, even as I advise for students in the framework of an agri-ecological program that has just begun in the Andes with the McKnight Foundation. This began two years ago. And as it turns out, I have 3 students, one from Bolivia, one from Ecuador, and one from Peru, who are all females, and one indigenous male from Peru, from the Altiplano. And you know, I remember that when I was younger, I felt it was, I mean, you are less secure, you're less confident. So my first piece of advice would be to also honor your truth, honor what you know. I see this in my Bolivian student right now, as I was editing in her PhD project for future publication. You know, she is a native of the Bolivian Altiplano, and then she's asking me if this is right or that is wrong. And I say, you know, Gabi, you know the answer. So just be self-confident and don't be afraid. That's easy to say, but not easy to practice. It took me a while, but just also to not fear just making mistakes, stumbling along the way. You know, we're human, women and men, we're all human. We make mistakes, and definitely having a support group. In personal life and in professional business, having a community of stakeholders and peers that make you accountable as well. I found that to be immensely not only useful, but gratifying. I had a community at CIP who could relate also to some of my fears. I remember I was extremely afraid when I had to defend my thesis and when I first had to present at CIP. I remember that day very well, but the older I became and the more I realized that other people, my other peers, were making similar mistakes and they were getting up again. And you know, so having said that, we do have to be aware that as women, there are still cultural attitudes and behaviors that are deeply embedded in our society. And we are still evolving. I think that we have made some progress, but especially as women, I would encourage the girls to, you know, just open your heart, honor who you are, but also stand your ground, put your foot down, especially when it comes to men. I definitely had to do it on the field and in institutions. Just, you know, Alejandra is not like the young pretty girl or whatever. Alejandra is a scientist in the making, in progress, and that is that's what she's devoting herself to, and I think is earning that kind of respect. And that is all.
Thank you very much indeed, both of you, Maria and Alejandra. It has been a great session. Two representatives of the CIP community sharing experiences today with the rest of the world, and of course committed to continue promoting science in the new generations. I would like to thank the organizers again for inviting us to participate. This is very important sharing and celebration day, and our session is basically over. I just would like to indicate that the way I promoted science with my two girls is trying to explain them that behind all what they do, in what they eat, there is science. In the games they have, there is science. In the television they watch, there is science. All of that is thanks to a hard work of scientists like the two that we had today in the agricultural sciences. Thank you very much indeed to the organizers. So I will be passing to the moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. Thank you to Maria and Alejandra, and thank you to Oscar and to James, Alonso and Vivian and all of those CIP colleagues who've played a very important role in making sure that your session was a very enjoyable and enlightening one. In particular, I really enjoyed hearing Maria's experience and what has led to her success, including how she has coped with the challenges she's faced along the way. And I really loved the quote, embrace change and learn and adapt fast. And that's certainly resonating from some of the earlier sessions we've had today. It was also really great to hear from Alejandra about her innovative work on the Andean Initiative. And once again, it was really quite, it was really quite important for us to hear that the same themes are popping up throughout the day, such as the importance of mentoring to support existing scientists and the real need to consciously create pipelines to build the next generation, that those two things are constantly coming through the many discussions throughout the day. And of course, another thing that continues to come through is the importance of having enabling environments, that we actually consciously construct the environments to support the people we need to have. I also liked Alejandra's comments about, the importance of not being afraid to make mistakes, and that having a supportive community around you is really necessary. And we're hoping that that's what we're starting today. So thanks also to everybody from CIP and to our great interpreter, Ana Rita, who's been making sure that our Spanish speaking colleagues had everything they need to be able to participate. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I only wish we had more time. I have lots of questions for both Maria and Alejandra, and we don't have time. And I know that many of our other colleagues online may also have similar questions. Don't worry. This is the start of discussions, not the end. If you do have specific questions, please do feel free to reach out to our CIP colleagues to continue the conversations after today's event. And on that note, I'm going to sincerely congratulate and thank our CIP colleagues and recognize that time is advancing. So it's time to move to Africa